What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P here with another episode of Steelers Touching Under. Breaking news, Patrick Queen, the linebacker, previously with the Baltimore Ravens in the division in the AFC North, is reportedly signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, as per telling Marcus Spears of ESPN, for $41 million deal. That would make him the seventh paid highest linebacker, according to my quick notes, in the league up through 2026 based on the contracts we've seen so far, average of about $13.7 million per year across the 3-year deal. Huge amount of money. We don't know the guarantee yet. That will be really key to understand as well. Steelers had linebacker challenges last year. They need to get younger there. No guarantees in this draft class of them getting a bona fide start of the draft class at linebacker is considered weaker than previous years, despite there being guys like Edwin Cooper, who I quite like. I really like Junior Colson. There are a few other guys in the mix as well. None of them bona fide starters. The Steelers had huge issues at linebacker. They clearly are going hard on defense. It is a linchpin of the three levels of the defense at middle linebacker, at inside linebacker, and they needed to get someone there and someone that wasn't just a thumper. Patrick Queen is an interesting guy, though, because he's kind of a bit of a jack of all trades when I think about Patrick Queen. He's 25, going on 25 this year. He's average about 230 pounds. He's not your 240, 250 bruiser, but the Steelers do need someone that can fly around the field a bit more. He has 13.5 sacks in his career so far. He has 6 fumble recoveries, 5 forced fumbles, 15 pass defenses, 4 interceptions, so his average is 1 a year there, 33 quarterback hits, 37 tackles for a loss overall in his career. He has a very high AV, though. That's the approximate valuation that Pro Football Reference give to players, which is based on statistical performance weighted at their position. He's kind of an interesting guy. I'm interested to see the Steelers spending $41 million on him, but the Steelers have to get better there. And you think about Cole Holcomb, $18 million over 3 seasons. Cole Holcomb wasn't nearly as highly coveted as Patrick Queen. Linebacker position's gotten more important. The salary cap's gone up $30 million. Those sorts of things, you start to see the money make sense. Now, I know my co-host on the Steelers Global Perspective, Shannon White, talked about him on another podcast yesterday and was like, there's no Roquan Smith, which allowed Patrick Queen to sort of roam around and do what he wanted to do and freelance around. There's no Roquan Smith in Pittsburgh, so this could be an issue if you're Pittsburgh Steelers signing. We've now just got to let him see what happens in terms of how he plays for the Steelers and what he can do for the Steelers as well. That's going to be the really interesting sort of piece. And when we talk about coverage, he does allow he's allowed at worst 82% of passes on coverage, and 77% is about what he averages overall. It is kind of interesting there. That's allowing basically 50-ish completions, as you can see on the screen right in front of you. But he has lowered the yardage that he actually allows. So that could be interesting when you pair him with a Holcomb, a Landon Roberts, bring back Quan, pair him with a late round draft pick as well. He's only allowed 8 touchdowns on passes that have been thrown his way in his career. So that's not too bad. His missed tackle percentage is pretty low as well at 9.5% for a coverage linebacker. If that's where you want to band him, I consider like he is a bit more of that all-rounder kind of thing. He does have a lot more pressures than he does sacks, and that's ultimately the case with a lot of middle linebackers there when you think about him having 45 pressures versus 13.5 sacks, like almost a ratio, or it's a ratio of about 3.2 to 1. So that's kind of interesting as well. But what I thought I would do very, very quickly is compare him to some similar linebackers. Jordan Brooks, who came out in the same draft class. Devin Bush Jr. came out the year before, but obviously was with the Steelers, so we played a similar amount of games, played in the division. It's kind of just an interesting benchmark. Cole Holcomb, who we obviously signed, who came out in 2019 as well, but spent a little of time off with injury. He would have over 60. He would have about 67 games that Patrick Queen has had he played through last year. Isaiah Simmons and Logan Wilson. Now, Isaiah Simmons and Logan Wilson were in the same draft class as Patrick Queen. But obviously Logan Wilson plays in the division. So these kind of guys are all interesting. And basically, when you look at the guys on the screen in front of you, Patrick Queen's played the most games, along with Isaiah Simmons at 67. Logan Wilson's played the least game at 57. He's hurt himself at times as well. So let's have a look at it. Patrick Queen by far has the highest AV. Now, if you're not familiar with AV before, I've mentioned it in this video. Basically, he's got 42 versus everyone sitting there in the mid-20s. 27 Cole Holcomb, the next highest. As I said before, that is a weighting and statistical performance based on the position per year. Like if you are a Pro Bowl quarterback, you're probably getting like a 13. If you're a Pro Bowl linebacker, you might be getting 11 to 13, or probably the best linebacker in the league. So when Patrick Queen was getting 9 most years and he had 15 last year, it's pretty big. So it's definitely working out. Let's look at the interceptions. Logan Wilson has 11. That's huge. Obviously, Patrick Queen has 4. He's sort of third on the list behind Simmons. But Simmons has also been deployed a lot more as a box safety, particularly this time at the Cardinals. You look at interception yards. It's high Isaiah Simmons. I'm not going to grade linebackers on interception yards that they return them for. But just an interesting note for you. Look, interception TDs, Patrick Queen and Logan Wilson and Devin Bush are the only ones not to have one. Kind of interesting. Sacks, though, Patrick Queen is actually the leader here with 13.5. So that's kind of interesting as well when you think about it. Devin Bush only ever had 4. Jordan Brooks had 6.5. He was considered possibly a target for the Steelers in free agency. And that's the other thing, too. Everyone pretty much bar Cole Holcomb, tongue twister, and Logan Wilson, well, free agents this year as well. So you could go and get any of these guys. In terms of overall tackles, Patrick Queen's there second with only 12 difference between him and Brooks. Brooks will last do a bit more with the Seahawks as well. You look at forced fumbles, as I said, he's got 5. He's third on this list behind Holcomb and Simmons. And look at fumble recoveries, he's got the most. Obviously, that's being in and around the ball. I think it was kind of interesting as well when you looked at this, the interceptions. I know we just talked about it there with the 11 versus 5 and 4, but it's a lot better than necessarily what the Steelers have had in a while. And I think that's going to be a key difference as well in terms of how you create a threat that the quarterback and the opposing offense needs to think about. I also wanted to equate that career average completion percentage. As I said, he allows about 77. I said last time with Ralph Maths at 78.2% from the previous screen. And that is the highest out of this group. It is higher than Holcomb. It is higher than Devin Bush. But if you look at how many times he's been targeted the second most amount of times compared to Jordan Brooks, who did come into the league as a coverage linebacker. So that is kind of interesting. But then when you look at the yards completed, he actually allows the least amount of yards for his career. Because as I said, he had that season where he allowed like 11 average, and then he brought it back last year. I think I just said it before, it was 9.5. So that is a big difference. He is improving in that coverage linebacker area. And that's one of the reasons why I don't hate the move. I think it's a lot of money for the Steelers to pay for a linebacker like Patrick Queen, but I can understand the thinking about it as well. I can understand where the thinking is behind this. And wanting to get someone that's played a lot of snaps, played a lot of games, best ability is your availability, as Mike Tomlin likes to say as well. Because if you look at the overall defensive snaps that he's played 3,800 in his career so far versus Isaiah Simmons is barely on the field with the injured when you compared to it, and he's played the same amount of games with 2,600 snaps. Devin Bush has only played 2,800. We obviously know he sat out a year. Logan Wilson had some trouble with his knee. He has only played 3,000 snaps. Cole Holcomb's had injuries at times. He's only played 3,100 snaps, and he's been around a whole extra year than Queen and Brooks. So you're getting a healthy guy. You're getting an all-round linebacker, and linebackers are starting to get paid more money. You're prizing him from a division rival. You're keeping him in the AFC North where a lot is asked for linebackers. It's not a bad deal. Now it's about how do the Steelers fit him into the mix. But you tell me in the comments, do you like the idea of us signing Patrick Queen? He's reportedly coming to the Steelers, as I said, broken with ESPN, $41 million deal, average of about 13.7. What we haven't heard per season, we haven't heard the guaranteed money yet. Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button if you like the show, and hit that sub button if you're enjoying all our content from Steelers Touchdown Under. I'm Matty P. As always, go Steelers.